Hello, beautiful people. How are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, we are entering the winter time, and guys, everything is changing up, the weather, etc. I personally love this time of the year. It is not like it was at home, and especially because of the fact that I have all of these beautiful butters and things that I get to really indulge in a much, much deeper way than I did during the summertime. Usually in the summer, I'm a sort of light moisturizer sort of girl, but now I get to really go all in into all of the fabulous creations and butters and things that we have in our line. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Charmaine Gibbs West. I am a holistic coach, holistic educator, and I am the founder of a couple businesses, but namely Essence Tree, which is a holistic lifestyle movement designed to bless you with the hair, skin, and life of your dreams. And most people know us by our skincare line, Essence Tree skincare line, that's sold in Whole Foods and is sold on our website. It's a superfood a skincare line that's been really prospering a lot of people by transforming their skin and transforming their hair. We've had people who've seen their symptoms of eczema be reduced. We've had people who've grown their edges back, who've grown spots in their head, bald spots that they did not know were recoverable. So I am super excited that I get to do that, and I have this marvelous life that we get to do all of that. So guys, yes. So now, one quick announcement I do want to make before we talk about some tips and tricks on keeping your hair growth journey going strong for the winter time. I want to make sure that you guys know, special announcement, that we have I have relaunched our Beautiful Life Academy, and that academy is for women who are change makers, women who are ready to create a difference in the world by impacting women's health, by creating generational wealth for themselves, by making sure that they are really tapping into just the beauty and the dreams that they desire for themselves and for their community. So if you go to our website and on the side panel where it says Earn Extra Income, Beautiful Life Academy, you can click on that to learn more about this program and sign up for one of our information sessions. I would love to chat with you because in November, we are getting that cracking, okay? So thank you for joining me live tonight. Guys, please take the time as well. If there's anybody that you know who is suffering from hair loss, who is suffering from edges that are broken, etc., that are badly in need of some TLC, please take the time to share this with them and subscribe to us here, as well as our other channels on Facebook and Instagram under Essence Tree. You can follow us there. So guys, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts for your hair. We're going to focus on your edges and your ends primarily because those are really the most fragile parts of your hair, and those are the ones that are most susceptible to damage and breaking, which means that you can't keep the hair length that you want because you don't have the hair retention during the winter time. So the number one rule, because I am a holistic educator, I do want to start with the obvious, which may not be obvious to everyone, but the number one reason for hair loss is actually your health. So that covers malnutrition, that covers some hormonal problems you may be having, and it also covers stress. Well, stress is a trigger and it makes everything else in your body go haywire. We're in the month of October, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I just want to make sure if you are a woman or the women in your life meant to take good care of yourself during this winter season. It can be a really stressful time of the year, but make sure that you're getting adequate rest. Make sure you're getting adequate hydration. I love to do yoga and meditation during this time of the year. Make sure that you're eating well. So that is so important. You need to keep your immune system strong so that your hair growth can flourish. You want the hair to continue to come. You don't want it to be to shed just when you want that critical growth. So that means that you have to have extra vitamin C in your diet. That means you should take your vegetables and your fruits very seriously. That also means that you may want to include that vitamin C in the form of a supplement. You want to take your multivitamins, of course, and your liquid biotin, which I adore. I get mine from what's that called, the Vitamin Shop. And I make sure that I'm taking my vitamin B complex because it helps me to deal with stress, guys. So you want to make sure you get your hair growth going quickly, and that entails that you have a strong immune system. So that's number one. Do not get stressed out. Manage that stress. Manage your health. So number two is you want to make sure, now that we're going into winter, is naturally the time. It's colder, drier, which means that we don't have the benefit of the humidity in the air on our side. During the warm weather, even though it was very hot, in some climates very dry, the air is naturally more moisture in it when the temperatures are warmer. So our hair has a little bit more of a natural health protectant built in with that moisture. But going into winter, when it's colder, it's naturally drier, and plus it's very extreme. So it can wreak havoc on those vulnerable parts of your hair. So it can wreak havoc on your edges, it can wreak havoc on your ends. So you want to make sure that you are not, even though we're going to be changing up and wearing all sorts of different coats and sweaters and scarves, you cannot afford to have your hair touch any of those fabrics that are knits. So I have this example of this eternity scarf or infinity scarf. You want to make sure that you avoid these type of fabrics that has openings in them, especially if your hair is curly textured, coarse, or a type 4 type. It is more likely that a curly textured hair would get wound into the different openings in this fabric. In addition, if you're wearing like wool coats or some sort of other blends, fur blends in your sweaters, mohair, etc., they are going to tug on your hair and they are going to potentially break your hair off. It happened to me millions of times. It felt like during my hair growth journey, especially in my 20s, before I knew how important it was to kind of keep my hair away from those different textures. So instead, what you want to do is to make sure that you are only having touching your hair. Your hair should only come into contact with your smooth, satiny fabrics. So even if you have to wear a beautiful hat this winter or a nice scarf, I always tie my hair up first with a satin scarf before I put the knits and things in contact with my head. So you want to make sure you do that, because again, that length retention is really going to be really something that's vulnerable going into the winter time. Of course, at night, if you're not already and your hair is more kinky, curly, please consider sleeping with either a silk bonnet or either getting the old school slips and put them over your pillowcases, because that would allow your hair to sort of be protected at nighttime. The next rule is that the number two, reason for hair loss outside of your health and your nutrition is actually called traction alopecia. And what that means is that your hair is being sort of pulled on in a really major way by tight hairstyles, heavier things like heavy braids or heavy locks. And so going into the winter time where you have so many other factors at play, I would recommend not having any tight hairstyles during the winter. Even if you have to apply heat, it's almost like I would recommend heat versus a tight protective braid style that's super tight, because that's going to pull on those fragile edges. It's going to pull on the older part of your hair. The oldest part, which are your ends, and the youngest part, which are your edges, is actually going to do the most damage to those two parts during the winter time. So instead, keep your protective styling going for sure, but instead of even styles like this, which would appear that it's a tight hairstyle, it's actually not tight at all. What I did, I had a wash day today, and which is why I'm coming on, because I was like, there's so many questions that my clients have, etc. But with the wash day, I always add a layer of protection on my hair, and then I put a styling aid like a gel, and I tend to use the Main Choice Biotin Infused Styling Gel. I add a moisture first so that I don't have a super stiff styling aid come into direct contact with my hair, because I don't want it to make it too hard and inflexible, which means that it can make it brittle and break if I'm sleeping or what have you. So I add a moisture protectant first, and then I go ahead and cover my hair with the styling gel, one that doesn't flake, of course, and then I tie it down. So what would normally be a tight hairstyle, but only has that same sleek appearance by putting on a gel, by brushing it with some natural bristle. These are the three different brushes that I have. I have a soft club brush, and these are natural boar bristles. I have a firmer one when necessary, and then I have a little soft one for edges and things like that. So everything that comes in contact with my hair is of the right texture and type. And so that way, my hair I can still attain these hairstyles without any damage. So it's about creating a damage-free workaround for your hair. And I do want to mention, when we're talking about traction alopecia can actually also be caused by head wraps. So you want to be careful, because I know a lot of times we're thinking that head wraps are, by wrapping your hair, you're engaging in a protective style. However, the head wrap itself could be way too tight around the edges, and it's the back as well as the front that's vulnerable. It could also be the wrong fabric. The head wrap could be like a cotton fabric, and sometimes they're even waxed cotton, like the African fabrics are like a waxed cotton, so it's smoother. But because it is a cotton, and we count cotton as one of those fabrics that can dry the hair out a little bit, you want to be careful about using that too tightly. So the same thing I would recommend, if you want to wrap your hair, if at all possible, consider putting like a satiny, I know they have wig caps and things like that, but those ones to me pull on a little bit. But if you can find one that's a good texture, a good fabric, or some sort of thin fabric scarf that you can put underneath your head wrap to reduce the damage and the traction alopecia that fabric and that wrapping may cause on your hair. So this winter, as we are going down the road of our hair growth journey, we are saying no to those super tight hairstyles. The next one is to make sure, and this is a continuation of the other one, is that we want to make sure that our ends and our edges are not left unprotected. So basically no rough edges, no rough ends. And what I mean by that is, especially if you tend to wear wash and go styles or even twist outs, you have to be particularly careful when your ends and your edges are in their natural states. So you want to make sure that you are using, and I actually have something special to introduce to you guys. This is my go-to, which goes right in line with my next suggestion. You want to make sure that you're having them naked and sort of vulnerable in that state. When they're in their curly texture state, again, that's an easier time for them to link up with the different fabrics and to get broken, etc. Because you guys may know that curly texture here, just because of the shape of it and the texture of it, it has more points of breakage on it than like a smooth, straight hair shaft. Is a lot more vulnerable to that. So what I tend to do, which saves my edges, which saves my hair is obviously in a protective style. I have hair added on, but my hair itself is almost bra strap length. I had to cut off a lot of damage, so it's close to bra strap length at this time. But I have an amazing, and I hope you guys can see it, it's a Herbal hair balm. This is an amazing product. It's a sealant, but even more than a sealant, it's a nutrition to encourage growth of your edges and to protect. It's a protectant from the elements, the dryness, as well as to protect and smooth your ends, because that's so important. So you guys know, when you have split ends, your hair tends to open up and it tends to become kind of scraggly. But the right protectant, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like so you guys can see. This is actually a shea butter and like herbal mixture. So we use certified organic shea butter. And guys, that's a whole nother conversation, but you do want to be careful about your sources of shea butter, because shea butter is a natural food, and sometimes by the way it travels, is an international product. By the way it travels, it can be introduced to mold and some other things, as well as the fact that you just want to watch any chemicals, toxins that inadvertently been introduced into your product. So when you buy organic, when you invest in that, that's investing in your health and then making sure it's reducing your toxic exposure. So we use in our product line, the SSG product line, and this is actually sold at Whole Foods. If you guys go to Whole Foods in the South region, it's also sold on our website, and I put a link in the description. But I use it, and this is my personal jar, and I'm gonna show you the texture of it. It's a luscious, luscious cream that you can use. It's so beautiful and gentle. I'm gonna show you. It goes on nicely there, and I put a lot on it. All of our products are so concentrated. You just need a little bit. And really, this is for demonstration. I don't need this right now because I had my wash day, and I apply this under the gel that I'm wearing. So this is already my layer of protection to keep my hair from being too exposed to a stiff styling aid. Okay. So, but this is something that will be really, really good for protecting those fragile parts of your hair. And this is something that has kept my hair growing well. Now that I've started to trim away most of the damage, and my nutrition is back in place. Sometimes we all have a little bit of a hiccup with that food thing. And I actually need to go back and reboot my vitamins as we speak. Those of you guys who know me, we had an amazing summer challenge this past summer where we kind of worked on our skin health, our hair health, our life goals, and we talked about nutrition. We shared recipes. It was everything. It was everything, guys. So if you want more of that, please make sure that you are following me. Primarily, I think the challenge was on Facebook and Instagram. So I am looking to get better on YouTube. But right now, most of the party is actually on Facebook and Instagram. So if you want to follow us there as well, if you are there, that's amazing. But we covered all of that. So we talked about feeding our insides and feeding our hair. So a product like our Herbal Hair Balm is a beautiful, beautiful scalp food. It's a beautiful food for your edges. It's safe for your girls, for your children, boys too, as well as adults. For me, what I tend to put on my scalp is our Healthy Hair Tonic. And this is an amazing growth and moisture oil. So I tend to leave anything that I put on my scalp to be very, very light. So I like oil-based products. But I will say that I'm someone who, I do have a type 4 hair texture. I don't have to worry about dryness as much, however, because we have a full product line. And you can see this on our website at ssg.com. We have a full product line that helps to moisturize and protect my hair. So dryness is only something that I think about when I'm protecting the extremities, my edges and my ends, because it's wintertime and you have to do that way. But because I have the right arsenal for that, it's not too much of a stress. But yes, guys, so that was my number 4 do and don't, is to make sure that you are taking the time to really build into your hair care regimen that proper protection and sealant of your moisture. So even if when you have wash day, after you use your leave-in conditioner, if you choose to use one, that's when you would follow up with this sealant, the Herbal Hair Balm. So this would be the rich product that you would use to lock in that moisture. But even after the fact, so say for example, when I wear my twist outs, if I do my Bantu knot outs or whatever, I use the Herbal Hair Balm to retwist it. When I first twist it, I put that on my ends and then I roll it up. And then when I'm retwisting it throughout the time that I'm having that style, I moisten it a bit, but I always, always, always apply more of this. That has made a tremendous difference. It used to be when I would wear my Bantu knot outs and my hair was very rough and it just got too tangled and it would break a little bit. But ever since I started using this sealant, guys, have that hairstyle for forever and everything is okay. I mean, the only tangling I get is maybe at the roots because I'm not combing it through each time. I try to reserve combing my hair for wash days just because I don't want, we all know with the combing, sometimes it can take out a little bit too much hair. So it's been amazing. So guys, yes, so those are 4 tips, starting off with our health being the number one, because you have to do it with the internally. Even if you have some sort of underlying health condition, like I said, any sort of stress will make that all the worse. So take this time during winter time. Some people feel a little bit down during winter, but really it's a very powerful time to really delve into yourself. To It gets dark earlier, it means that you need a little bit more rest. You need to come back in within yourself. And once you kind of reframe what the wintertime offers, you'll be able to really maximize the nesting. And by nesting, it's like good foods, you yourself with your vitamins, you're practicing your meditation and your prayer. It's a beautiful time for hair growth. But in addition to that, like we said, with the length retention, we want to make sure that we are keeping our hair away from any of the winter fabrics and cottons and satiny things in our bonnets and our slip covers for our pillowcases. We also want to make sure that we are not engaging in any practices that would cause traction alopecia, which means that tightness and the pulling of our edges. Instead, we're going to smooth our edges down. If we want this type of hairstyle that looks tight, we're going to smooth it down with the right product, but we're always first going to coat our hair with a protectant so that that product isn't causing any damage. And then finally, we're never going to leave our edges and ends unprotected and raw without applying it. So even if you're doing your twist outs things, make sure that you're keeping your edges and your ends properly sealed and protected in those styles there. So those are some of the tips and tricks for that, guys. If you want to receive more information similar to this, please continue to follow me. And please go to our website and join our email list as well for even more information. But it was great talking to you, and you guys have a great winter. Thank you. Forgot to mention, guys, if you wanted to get information on the skincare portion, we'll be talking about that too. So I have some great information on eczema management, etc. So keep tuned for that. Bye-bye.